A Benin bronze-inspired installation by the Nigerian artist Victor Ehikhamenor has been installed beside a plaque in the St. Paul's Cathedral in London. Measuring 12 feet tall, the textile and metalwork titled "Still Standing" is made from 6,000 rosary beads, rhinestones on lace, and a number of bronze statues cast by Ehikhamenor in Benin City, which resembles the ornaments worn by the royalty of the Benin Kingdom. Ehikhamenor's work is part of the Cultural Commissioner series, 50 Monuments in 50 Voices, a collaboration between St. Paul's and the University of York, which invites creators from comedians and poets to artists to respond to the cathedral's monuments. And I'm glad to say that Victor Ehikhamenor joins me now from our studios in Lagos. So good to see you, Victor. Now tell us about this latest piece of yours and how this will help project more about the Benin Kingdom, talking about Edo artifacts, especially in the light of how we've seen some of these artifacts being returned to Nigeria.
All right, thank you. It's part of a conversation, it's part of a much larger conversation, and it was also to show the importance of the Benin Kingdom and the past history, as well as what we today know as Nigeria. So my work was responding to a plaque in St. Paul's Cathedral in London to look at the history that usually people will gloss over. It's just to reawaken that history there of Sir Rossin, who was an admiral at the time, who led the attack on Benin Kingdom in 1897. So the work is to kind of like reawaken that history and also add to the conversation that we're having about different monuments and how some of them left what is today known as Nigeria.
Interesting indeed. And just tell us about how you went into making this piece and what's the appreciation of that piece of art has been like.
Well, it was commissioned as part of 50 Monuments and 50 Voices, and the curator is Dan Hicks and Simon Carter, who Simon works with the Cathedral, and Dan Hicks is somebody who has written extensively about the Benin bronzes as well in his book, the British Museum. So it's based on their commissioning that I now decided to reference about Verame, who was, when he was taken, as at the time he was taken, he was dehumanized. All his royal attires were taken from him, so he couldn't really be seen as an Oba, as a king then. So in the opportunity to reawaken this kind of situation where I can dress him up in a glorious way arose. So I decided to go all the way out to do that and use rosary as well,
Why the name Still Standing?
The title "Still Standing" comes from the fact that the kingdom still stands, the tradition still stands, because there is that situation sometimes where people think that the Benin Kingdom stopped after colonialism, after 1897, that there are no works being made there, or even the palace no longer exists. You'll be surprised at the kind of ideas people have that have never visited or don't go beyond the normal old historical books that were written. So this has kind of like enlightened a lot of them to know that this kingdom is still very much in existence, and the palace is still very much in existence. The culture of bronze making, of art making, and contemporary art coming out from that part of Nigeria, as well as the entire Nigeria, as well as the continent itself, is still very much in the progress of, there are still works going on, there are still artworks being made, not just like after the end of colonialism, creativity stopped in Africa.
And tell us about the Edo religious symbolism that has been fused into this, Catholic imagery of the surrounding and all of that. I mean, a lot of people want to say, what's the, what binds both of them together?
Well, you have to realize that the kingdom received Christianity in about the 16th century. Oba Esige was actually the first Oba that was baptized, you know. So since then, when we had, you know, intervention with the Portuguese, since then there has been that duality of Christianity and what you call our own tradition. So we've been able to use this both in our culture, in dressing, in fashion, in ways of worship and all of that. And we have also very much rendered them in our arts. You know, if you look at, I'm one of the youngest people actually that is referencing that tradition of fusing the culture from there as well as art. When you look at like Professor Bruce Donobrakpaye's work, there's a lot of that back and forth between that region as well as, you know, Christianity. You look at the late Erabo Emokpaye, he also was able to write that duality of both tradition, what you call Catholic tradition. And of course, you have the Royal the Holy Arosa Cathedral, which is one of the oldest churches in this part of the world, you know. So all of these are what comes into play when I'm making some of the works, you know. So, and it came to play as well when I was making that work.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a mixture of African and Western cultures combined. Now, let's talk about the Benin Kingdom. I mean, there's been this renaissance with the return of artifacts. I've been following you on Twitter and I mean other social media, and how you've been excited about this return of artifacts and all of that. But the preservation of the artifacts in the Benin Kingdom is one thing that a lot of people are concerned about. There are talks about building museum at the Oba Palace. The state government had said it would do one earlier on before there was a consensus that this arts should go to the Oba Palace. Now, talk to us about how these artifacts can be well preserved and how efforts should be put in place to ensure that this museum comes to, you know, see the light of the day.
I think for a kingdom that is as robust as Benin, we can even do with more than just 2 museums, if you ask me, you know. So, but what you asked before about preservation, you have to realize that these things that have been returned were there for centuries before they were taken by the British in the first instance, you know. So as far as keeping them and maintaining them and retaining them, that is not a problem because it's part of the culture, it's part of the Edo and Benin you know, ecosystem to create these things, you know, and protect them and use them the way they are supposed to be used. You know, so like I always say, we are working on it. I mean, museums will be built, and you have to realize that there is contemporary art, then there is also what you call the classic art. You know, so and they both have places to, and they both have their roles to play in our society and in our community. So the onus is on us to figure out and create an enabling environment for what is being returned. And I think we are capable of doing that.
Interesting. As we try to round off this conversation, are you also considering putting some of these your arts into NFT and all of that, the non-fungible token? Because, I mean, that's the latest deal in your art world at the moment.
Well, my mom used to say that you don't have to dance to every song, you know. So I don't know yet, you know. So it's a new development. It's something that I'm considering. It's something that I'm looking into. I don't know enough of it to go into it, and I think we have enough right now. Or I think I have enough on my hands right now to keep me busy, you know. So I think so.
All right, Victor Ehikhamenor, we must thank you so much for joining us from Lagos to take a critical look at this very beautiful piece. I mean, I've seen it myself. I admire it, though I'm seeing it on my screen. I only wished I had an opportunity to see it physically, but it looks very beautiful, and we must thank you for joining us on the Arise interview to talk about this piece of art that's making waves. We must thank you for joining us. Well, that's how it's been for this edition of the Arise interview. Do join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, goodbye and thank you for watching. I'm Somna Samuel.